Hey guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome to Blurrgs A Bounty, the only Mandalorian discussion show hosted by the Imperial Senate Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Ashby, and joining me today are my fellow Bounty Hunter Guild comrades. First up is our lovable Lego King, Nicky Kuma.
Please call me Brown Eyes.
And we also have Queen Quacky herself, Claire Stripling.
Hello, my loyal subjects.
So yeah, here we are. Chapter 15.
Mundo.
Who would have thought? Who would have thunk?
We somehow made it.
Almost there, baby. We're in the home stretch.
Yeah, so after a very eventful last episode where Grogu disappeared, we are now trying to get him back. Here's a fun fact. This is the only episode where Grogu doesn't appear at all.
Grogulous.
It's a very Grogu-less episode, and I think we felt that.
A little bit, yeah.
Do you think Rick Famuyiwa felt cheated? Where's the baby?
You got him twice last year, I guess.
Oh yeah.
So
he's like, I want to play with Boba now.
Rick Famuyiwa got a different kind of baby. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Obviously, chapter 15 is called The Believer, which I don't know if you guys watched the Disney event yesterday, but very much Monkeys influenced the Monkeys, the band. Because once I heard the WandaVision trailer and I heard the song they used, as soon as I saw the Believer, all I could think of was the Monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's the unofficial song choice for this episode.
Totally, tonally fits the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I thought love was only true.
Saw Den's punching pirates off the thing.
Din thought love was only true in fairy tales, and now he's taking his helmet off for a little green guy. So
who hasn't though?
Hey.
We've all been there. We've all taken off a helmet for a little green guy. But yeah, what are our main thoughts on the episode? Who wants to go first in this one? Nicky, you've got Rick Famuyiwa behind you, so.
Oh, I do. Yeah. So first of all, I was really excited for this episode because my beloved Rick Famuyiwa was my favorite director of season 1, and I was very excited to see what he would cook up this time. I'm wearing my Dodgers hat for him. He would be wearing one here if this wasn't cut off. Also his name as the pilot was Jib Dodger, so very, very clear Dodgers man here. But yeah, no, I was really quite thrilled with this episode because it sort of just kept underlining something I felt from season 1, where this guy, Rick Famuyiwa, really understands character, on a deep level with this show. And there was stuff in this episode that, character work, I was not expecting. And I think that it kind of felt like a departure from the season, because the past few episodes have been very, oh my God, look at that. Oh my God, look at that. And this wasn't really that. There wasn't really, except one kind of big thing that happened. But the episode on a whole was not really based in this, here's this thing that you kind of know. And I also thought it was sort of the title itself was very different, because our past few have been, the heiress, the Jedi, the marshal, the tragedy, where they've all been sort of straightforward. And this one is kind of you kind of have to think your way through what the believer means. It's not just straightforward title. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I really enjoyed this episode. It just had a lot of everything. It had a lot of cool action. It had the character work. It had some beautiful face that we haven't seen in a while.
And it's not filmed up.
Yeah. It's so great. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it's a great point you made about the title being so. It's like there's so many meanings in there, and it doesn't necessarily land one way at the end either. It's up to you,
Hmm.
your interpretation of what this episode means,
Right.
who the believer is, what the
Hmm.
believer is. Although I will argue about one thing. You said there's only like one major thing in this episode. It depends on your level of uh, dorkiness, because I literally out loud said, "Treads." There's a little. They've got wheels. I'm sure people are gonna complain about that. Claire, what about you? What did you think?
It's just another great Mandalorian episode. I sound like the most redundant person on the planet right now. Um, I really enjoyed it. I thought that the action maybe was a little bit repetitive, but it was a total homage, in my opinion, to Indiana Jones when we're on our truck in the middle of the dirt road in the jungle with, trying to, with Nazis jumping on and trying to take Indy out, and Indy single-handedly, you know, taking care of business on the top of a truck. And then it also reminded me of it was just a video game all around, is that whole fight sequence, which I enjoyed. The video game that I referenced in the immediate reaction video I do for us is have you ever played Mario Party? I think it's 4, and
Oh, of course.
and there's a swimming game where you have to press 2 buttons or alternate, and you have a little heart, and if you go too fast, the heart will deplete. You got to pace yourself as this is so stupid.
No,
As
yeah,
Stairs are
keep
getting
going.
hotter or
Definitely.
colder.
You're
I'm just
going
like,
somewhere.
I'm mashing buttons. I'm like, okay, slowing down the buttons, mashing. Like, all right, now to go to L and R. Oh shit, I'm going too fast now. Like that is just all I kept thinking was Mayfeld. Oh no. And of course, Din's just like, strapped on the top of it, which makes it so much more frustrating. I thought it was a fun way to do an action sequence. Um, Another thing is, I think that the best part of this entire episode, other than seeing how handsome Pedro Pascal is when he's not covered in blood, which don't get me wrong, like covered in blood also kind of works for me. But I hate that I just said that phrase, but but the other thing is the real winner of this episode is the character development, and in places that I did and did not expect. We saw Din literally for the first time abandon the thing he had believed in his whole life simply for this child. It shows just how much he loves Grogu and that he's willing to stop at nothing, including his life's dedication to save this kid, which is incredible. And to watch Mayfeld, which I didn't really think I'd come here singing Mayfeld is the champion of this episode, but in my heart he is. To watch his journey and to watch him, like, I don't know what they do to you in those New Republic prisons other than dress you up like Rose Tico, but man, they gotta definitely they've knocked some heart into him, because by the end of this episode, I was just heartbroken. And he's a war veteran who's been traumatized by what he has survivor's guilt for. And then when you put him face to face with the man that made that happen, it's he just oh so anyway, I'm glad that Kara let him go. I'm glad that maybe this is certainly it should be a good spin-off comic book series at the least. I don't think he'll come back for any sort of, series or anything like that. Maybe a cameo every now and then, but I think there's a lot of Mayfeld stories to be told, which is not something I would have said yesterday.
Right, take me back last week.
Right? I
Yep.
remember like looking at the prisoner photo, the mugshot, and just going, "Oh, okay, I guess we're going to get him now." And now I'm just like, Mayfeld, buddy.
It was definitely
One thing-
interesting, yeah, to see that.
One thing you mentioned about Indiana Jones, I think it definitely fit that. I also got like Mad Max Fury Road vibes.
Oh yeah, I could see that too.
Especially because it was like there was like a resource involved as well, and yeah, it was just it reminded me that like with people like jumping on and them fighting him off stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just wild, like all in general. Yeah. The video game
with
thing's funny too.
The video
Mhm.
game thing really hit a note, especially I don't know if you've ever played Arkham Knight. There's
Yes.
a sequence where you have to like take the canisters out. You have to be really slow, and if you move too
Mhm.
fast, the thing goes.
Yep.
That's all I could think of as well. So yeah, I get that. Video games. Um, I enjoyed this episode. I don't think it was my favorite.
Same.
There's a lot of stuff I liked in it. I like those returning trooper designs that the ones that George loved. They just painted a different color. It was cool to see the shore troopers again. Yeah, the shore troopers again. Great design. Great jungle planet. Slave One, you know me, I love Slave One. So seeing Slave One doing more cool stuff.
And watching
we'll
the
get onto
cockpit
it.
turn.
Like we'll get onto that in a bit, but yeah, like seeing new elements of Slave One. So good.
Interior.
So beautiful. I did enjoy the character development. I like the fact that they sort of hammered down about how bad the Empire was, especially with Operation Cinder. I don't think, even though we have seen it in the Battlefront games and the books and stuff, the comics, I think describing it in that way is a good way of reminding casual audiences, like, oh, okay, this is a terrible thing. I was really worried at first when they were doing the whole, well, the Empire and the New Republic, they're the same thing. I was like, are they though? So I was like, I was really concerned at that point. I'm glad that they turned it around near the end with that whole, obviously the epiphany that Mayfield has. And I was like, oh, screw this. So I'm glad. I love that that whole sequence. The bit where you can see the hate in his eyes, like the rage growing, like the sort of just the pure, like even for this guy, like the shock and discontent, like this guy doesn't care about anyone. I thought it was really interesting. So yeah, I definitely I was intrigued by this episode. I would say that the most. I was definitely intrigued by it. Also, I just love seeing like scrapping old military stuff. Like we saw it yesterday, like in the concept art of Andor, we saw like scrapping Venators. Now we're seeing scrapping Imperial stuff.
Everyone
Star
loves
Wars loves a good scrap
manage
yard,
their
yeah.
scrap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good scrapping. Of course, with no baby Automata this week because there was no baby Yoda.
I think that gives
Sad
him a
face.
10 out of 10 Automata for not showing his butt up.
Yeah. He's asleep. Okay, let's start off. Obviously, we see Mayfield in prison fatigues on a planet dismantling Imperial ships and technology. We see an ATST being knocked apart. All different types of technology, TIE fighters, all that jazz. Cara Dune uses her New Republic status to help take Mayfield out, which I think straight off the bat was very much of a shock because I was thinking more. I thought we were gonna get Prison Break, but instead we got prison shenanigans.
Yeah, I also thought that episode was gonna get him out, but that got solved pretty quickly and something else to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's gonna be like a big shootout. It's gonna be like Boba Fett doing naughty stuff, but it's like, no, we need him. Okay. Which I thought, yeah, it's interesting.
Perk to have a friend go legit, you know?
Absolutely. Well, kind of. Then we see Slave One land. Boba Fett has a clean new look. What did you think about that?
I wasn't into it.
Oh no!
I mean, I'm fine with it. Like, but I did think the like busted up version looked really cool.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a little like, oh, okay, like you got onto that pretty quickly. But yeah, I did think the sort of rusted kind of version was really cool.
It did make me laugh because all I could think was, in our deal, I said I'd give you back the child, but first of all, I need to pop off and wash this bad boy.
just like scrubbing that on the way to wherever the prison planet was.
I'm not into weathering anymore. I just want to make it clean.
Oh, man.
I did love, like I was shocked at first. I didn't know what, like, I had like a weird response to it. I was like, oh, that's Boba Fett, but what's happened to him? Like, what is it? I think what won it over for me was obviously Django's armor doesn't look that bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, maybe this is what like Boba's armor looks like originally. And then someone made a really good point on Twitter. I can't remember who said it, so I do apologize. But they said maybe this is like a rebirth thing. But after the Sarlacc, Boba is like sort of rebirthed himself and he's decided that he should start again. And that the scratches and the dents are part of an old life that he's left behind.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that
like
makes
that.
sense. I like that sort of idea. And then, yeah, like you said, Nicky, over time, like once you get past that, it's like, who cares? It's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, it
I
was.
love
It was.
that.
And oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I love that the paint job is like super clean. I love the matte look in contrast to shiny Din Djarin. And I think that I love that it's not a perfect paint job either. You can see little chippings around like where the dent in his helmet is and stuff like that. I think he looks good. And I think that if you've been waiting for that long to get your armor back, the second you get it, you're gonna spit shine it and you're gonna look good, man. And I didn't realize how much his colors would like pop, especially that little like mustard yellow orangey pauldron on his shoulder. I'm like, dude,
It was like
way
Home
to
Alone.
accept.
It's like, I'm never
that's
going to
nice.
leave you again. I'm so sorry.
The entire house
Merry
is fixed up.
Christmas.
Mama!
I love that he had his rifle back.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That
like
felt
that.
that felt right.
he bought that somewhere. He's like, I'm going to
I
buy
know.
that. Or he left it. I don't know. Either one. Either way, I thought it was funny. Like, he's like, yeah, I'm going to buy a new one.
Yep.
Mine.
Mine.
I really like the quote. For a second, I thought you were this other guy.
Yeah.
And then he walks out. He's like, oh, screw this.
There was a
Also-
lot. I loved a lot of the humor dialogue in the
Yes.
episode. A little bit later, I love the
We'll get to that line. Yeah, we're going to get to
that line.
So good. We get incredible interior shots of Slave One from the back. The first time we've ever seen this, right?
I think so.
I think
yeah.
so, yeah.
Like the party area.
I was trying to think, like, did we see it in the Clone Wars? But I feel like they just focus on the cockpit.
Yeah, it was just kind of like I felt like it was like a nondescript room for Clone Wars. But yeah, this time we actually, thanks to the volume, got to see how it sort of like functioned on the inside. That was just really cool.
I love it, and I was like, as a kid, I've always been like, look, if I'm gonna have a ship, if it's not the Imperial shuttle, it's gonna be a Slave One. Like, there's two of my bad boys. Those are the
Mhm.
ships. Like, if I could have in the galaxy, I'd have like a, like one there, have both of them shining. Okay. But if I was in the back, I think I'll get so sick seeing everything like move about. It's like, oh god, the vertigo must be crazy.
It's a lot.
I love how you get a view from that area too. Like the
Yeah.
viewport like comes down. It's like you can just be sitting at that little desk that Din was at, doing your homework, I guess, and then flying through space but like just think about little Boba as a child sitting at that desk, Daddy Django flying around. He's just seeing the galaxy.
Doing his
Beautiful.
homework. Look at
Yeah,
that.
doing his Tanwi's assignments.
It's like, where's Wally? But they're all Django. Where's Django? It's like, they're all Django. Oh my god, yeah, it looked just so cool. I loved it so much. One more thing about the armor, though, I do like the fact that he's like, no, keep the dent. I want the dent still. From when I
Right.
fought Cad Bane in that
Mhm.
adventure that you'll never see.
Come
Oh,
on,
will
Bad
we?
Batch.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, Bad Batch. Oh, we'll get into this
Oh,
in the main episode
buddy.
of the podcast, but I got a good feeling we might be seeing him.
Sky's the limit, baby.
They love reusing stuff. Nothing gets lost in Lucasfilm.
Mm-mm.
That's why I
Except
say-
Colin Trevorrow's career.
Oof.
Oh goodness.
Take that, Colin Trevorrow. Then we find out they're going to Morak, which gave me a second. I had to pause because I was like, what? The Guardians of the Galaxy planet? Which is Morag. So,
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
throw me out there. Yeah, there's an Imperial mining hub, a secret one. And Mayfield needs to go there to hack into an Imperial comms system, which I thought was a really cool idea, like them going to the secret mining facility. The idea that Mayfield might know about Imperial remnants and them being like a different threat, I thought was interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea that some people were like sneakily going about still supporting this outdated regime should open up some interesting stories, I think.
I wonder what it might do.
Ooh.
If only there was a show for the New Republic. Yeah, pretty cool. Let's just get past it. Let's just get to the line, Nicky. When they're talking about having to take the masks off and you can't find me, like Fennec's like, look, the ISB know me. Like they can't be me. Kara's like, look, I'm part of the New Republic. They know me. And then Boba has the best line, which is, let's just say they might recognize my face.
So good. I love that whole dilemma of who goes. It's just like it's like when you have the entirely wrong people to do a job and you're just like, well, can you go? And like, no.
Should have played this one better.
Yep. I also love like I forgot at which point it was, but there were so many times when people were like, oh, we're fucked. We'll stop. Like Kara was like, abort it. and Mayfeld later is like, let's call it quits. Abort.
He knows me. See you later.
Yeah, it was just funny to see people like throw in the towel so quickly. But not for Din. No stopping.
Mm-mm.
He will
Never.
go. He will go until there's no going left.
It was funny. I watched some reactions, and sometimes people, when it came to that line about Boba Fett, they were like, "Oh, cool, because he's a bounty hunter." I'm like, "No, he's a clone, dipshit."
Those poor people.
It's like, come on, it's comedy, man.
Oh man.
Dear Lord. Din having to wear Imperial armor, the conflict there, I thought was a really good story beat. Like, not only does he have to physically take his helmet off, wear this other armor, but it's also what that represents. It's the people that wiped out his culture,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
which I thought was a really powerful sort of move. And it shows how much, like you said, Nicky, it shows how much he loves Grogu to go to that length.
Mm-hmm. And also,
Yeah,
like,
it was...
oh, sorry. And at the same time, like, without tarnishing the like severity of that moment, was kind of funny because he looks kind of like the kid in A Christmas Story with too many sweaters on. He's like, I am so uncomfortable right now. He has a moment, especially in the truck, that he's just like,
He just he's like
almost never
sitting
seen
so
it,
straight.
so
Yeah.
You're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Get it off me. Get it off.
Yeah, that was like especially funny when Mayfield's like, I want to take this off, and it's like obviously you have like the film psychological reasons of like audience needs to see a face kind of thing,
Right.
but also like for the characters it was a good thing of like this guy being relaxed and Din just being like in his head, oh god, make it stop, and it was just like there's a lot of comfort zone leaving for Din Djarin in this episode, and this was a big deal. At first I thought he was gonna like, I was wondering to what degree he was just gonna go for it, because there was a time when it was starting to look like he had to go and he like touched his helmet. I was like, oh shit, is he about to take that thing off now? And like how far is he going here? So it was nice that they didn't quite go that far originally, but let him very incrementally leave, like step farther and farther away from how we know him. And I also think it was just really fun once the attack happens, like watching him fight in stormtrooper armor, and it doesn't quite hold up the same way as his regular armor.
There's some
It
adjustments
sucks.
needed to be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, it's like Rick Famuyiwa loves like filming this man in pain, because like after the fight when he like comes back into the thing, he's like, oh god, it's like, oh Jesus. So yeah, it was funny. It very much reminded me of episode or chapter 2, where he's just beaten up the entire episode.
For sure, yeah. Good point. Oh, I did laugh at the fact that like Bill Burr's Mayfeld's like, they can't see my face, and then like within like 10 minutes he's like, fuck it, he walks in the place as Bill Burr, and they're like, yay.
Hey, there we go.
Claire, like you said, a really great point about the pirate attack being very Indiana Jones like. I definitely got that feeling too, like the throwing explosions everywhere, the crazy ride. I was almost expecting him like Din like to fall on the side of the transport and like have
Right.
to go around and punch and
Although somebody else did, it didn't end quite so well as it did with Indy. Funk, funk,
True.
funk, funk, funk.
Oh, that was a nice crunch sound as well.
Yeah, those guys got melted.
Poor pirates. Poor pirates.
rough day.
It was also kind of like, fuck you guys. Like, but I can't fault them because they're going against the Empire. But
Right.
at the same time, it's like you don't understand what's at stake here.
That's an interesting thing too, how Mayfeld sort of like brings that up, where he's like, bet you've never been like so relieved to see a stormtrooper. And it's funny because like we are like when the TIE fighters come, you're like, oh, okay, we got support now. And it's like, wait, what? Like, I don't want that.
It's like
And
3PO
yeah, like
in Attack of the Clones. It's like, what am I saying?
Die,
Yeah.
Jedi Knights, die.
Yeah, it's like that, and then all the shore troopers and the stormtroopers coming to the bridge and greeting them like heroes. It's like, wait, am I supposed to feel good?
Maybe I'd been like
Yeah. Yep.
that. Just before that, though, there's that discussion about the Empire and the Republic that I brought up earlier. What did you think about that discussion, Claire?
I think it's interesting. I think that Mayfeld is just trying at that point because it's it's not true. I don't think that Mayfeld truly thinks that it's the case, but I do think that he's skeptical based on what he's been through. Because at the end of the day, yeah, he lived through Operation Cinder, but he also probably sat there seeing the rebels blow up a Death Star and murder however many people on board from their point of view. It's interesting. I love this conversation. I love when it gets brought up in Star Wars, when we get to see things from an Imperial side, from the Imperial cultural perspective of somebody. But also, there's evil on both sides, and it's true, but it's not really true. It has some things that ring as similar, but not. I don't think he genuinely believes that when he says it. I think that he's just holding back and trying not to. Well, also the man has been in a prison for the New Republic prison for a little while now, and can't be loving that. I mean, probably not his favorite thing to be doing. Probably they're not the BFFs right now. Yeah, I like that. I think it's a very interesting discussion. I think it is, but it's also there's a right answer here, Mayfeld, and I'm glad to see him come around.
Yeah. I felt it was like, I kind of felt he did believe it, and it was like a cynical man's take on power structures, and I thought that was kind of like relevant to a lot of like political discussions today of like when you're the people in the village whose like lives don't change, and
Yeah.
it's just someone in charge. It's like, what difference does it make? And it's like, I do think it's a really interesting discussion, and I think he definitely, like he says at the end, he's like he had to get a few things off his chest. So it's not to say like he doesn't learn or grow, but I think there is a part of him that like probably many people who operate in the fringes of the galaxy, like it doesn't matter who's in charge, right? Like it could be the Empire, it could be these guys. Like it's all power structure. It's all someone on top, someone beneath. And I just thought, again, it was a really cool like conversation. Like I don't know, we don't normally like think about the Mandalorian show, at least the past few episodes, like like a conversation about power structure. So yeah, it was cool to just like fit that into this episode, and I also like how that conversation like sort of was woven in with the like you and me we're just the same. And it's like, no, we're not anything alike. He's like, yeah, we are. It's just and the whole, you know, sort of a through line of like being able to sleep at night kind of thing.
I think that was
So
an
yeah.
extension of his grief as well.
Yeah.
Or, like
Yeah.
denial, his guilt, if anything. Like, we're the same, right? Like, we're the same. And Din's like, no.
Right.
Yeah.
And it definitely, I thought something was really interesting and that people brought up on Twitter was the parallels between Iden Versio and Mayfeld. Both very, you know, different levels, I guess, of indoctrination for the Empire. But Iden went one way, like she went pure, like 180, like this is wrong completely. We need to go out and actively stop this. Whereas Mayfeld, maybe I guess felt like he couldn't do anything about it, which I can
Mhm.
understand why people like couldn't like frustrated at that aspect. But I did think it was interesting that there are more people in the galaxy. There are some people in the galaxy that just, you know, don't necessarily stand out until they see the extent of what their inaction does. Mayfeld actively sees that his inaction to do anything has just meant that these people that were literally responsible for these horrible deaths and didn't care about the people that are on his side will just continue to do horrible shit. And he's like, screw it.
Yeah, I mean it's true to like life though. Like the Iden and Mayfeld disparity. Like not everyone's a fucking hero.
Yeah.
You know, like
Sure.
some people give up when or they turn away, and you know some people are, you know, they're able to fight. And I think yeah, the like exploration of Mayfeld's trauma, like yeah, it's like we're just talking about like character development we did not expect.
Honestly.
It's yeah, it was just I think it's really important. And yeah, it was just really fascinating to see this guy like yeah sort of go through every step of like yeah like the denial and sort of trying to just, you know, he's obviously been just wrecked by what he went through, and yeah, like just couldn't do anything until he does something, which even then is like it's only a small piece of his own personal um, grief, but he still just kind of lost it, right? And you could tell that was coming. It's a long time being built up.
Definitely. And I like that we got to view that from Kara's lens as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that people aren't just like one stroke of one side. We got a little on the fighting on the tank. We got a little bit of switch and bait. I thought was pretty cool with the mask. Like you mentioned, Nicky, throughout the episode, there's a moment where he grabs, like, touches it, and you're like, okay, is this gonna? Okay, well, it's not. Then when they're fighting, it looks like he's about to get kicked off,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh, okay, no. So that when you get
And-
to that point, oh yeah, sorry, Claire, you go.
Oh no. Finish your thought. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, you go. Let's get.
Oh, it's tangentially related. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, like, it was interesting to see them keep bringing that up, like get there, until we finally, you know, get into that sort of that base. And like you said, like the never thought we'd be happy to see stormtroopers walk inside, everyone's saluting, everything's weird. Get into that officer's room, and then once we see him take it off, I mean, come on, beautiful Pedro, looking so handsome.
It felt real good.
But I have to say, the moment afterwards when he's discussing, when he's talking to the officer, and then
Brown
Bill
eyes?
Burr comes, yeah, and then Mayfield comes in, talks him out of it, and then when they're sitting down, I think my new favorite meme has to be confused in, because he's constantly like this.
It's like, are all y'all faces normally this cold or what?
I thought it was a wonderful reminder.
But I like to think now, if I go back to...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you go. I was listening to you.
Oh, okay. I guess the video may have hiccuped a bit. But yeah, I was saying it was a really like amazing reminder of like, oh, Pedro Pascal is a very great visual actor as well.
Yeah.
like we don't see that in this show. But yeah, like he makes his face do the right things for the emotion. So we like it was just really cool to see, to have that moment of Pedro like really getting to act with his face in the show. Like we had, you know, the very smallest dosage of his bloodied up head, where he, I mean, gosh, was that like 15 seconds maybe?
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, he got to do an actual scene and get challenged and get to express that. So I thought that was really fun to get to see him do that.
Yeah, and I think it adds, if anything, it adds to the mask acting as well. Because now we have a sense of who was under the mask, and like I'm gonna constantly think every time he does like that underneath, I'm just gonna think of him going. I thought again, adding to the character development was Mayfeld's reaction to this as well. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Like in the first season, Mayfeld would have mocked him, would have joked, would have derided him.
First half of the episode, he did.
I think about that Gungan line a lot, just throughout time. Like, you said no one to show you your face. And yeah, like he gave him respect. Like that was, and I think a lot of that was built into seeing how far. I mean, Mayfeld talks about the lines, right? Like everybody has lines there they don't want to cross until it gets messy. And I think maybe like for Mayfeld, a lot of that was sort of like the humanity of it, right? Like he saw this I guess for all he knew, this kind of like faceless robo killer break his rules for the kid, and we're not even for the like maybe the kid wasn't even like the point. Maybe just the breaking the rules was enough for Mayfeld. But I think sort of like that definitely garnered some respect. I think he either like respected that, or he respected that this was a struggle for Din. And he sort of gave him that moment. Like he didn't watch when he gave him the helmet back, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it was really fascinating. I just, again, like not at all we were thinking Mayfeld was gonna come in and do in this episode.
And the quote, it says like, "I never saw your face."
Yeah, like this didn't happen.
I thought it was really sweet. I really liked that sort of line from him.
I do too.
Fuck
And
the Imperials.
Fabulous. Oh well, yeah.
Sorry.
I was gonna say fabulous performance by Bill Burr. And I've seen some people poke at him, be like, whatever. But you don't get to see him, act as you see him in all these comedic roles, and you don't get to see him like actually have a little bit of a, dramatic tension chops. And I know a lot of people are sitting there going, it was just Bill Burr being Bill Burr. But yeah, guess what? Jack Nicholson shows up, and it's still a varied and like fantastic performance, but he's still Jack Nicholson. So let's not be so quick to judge Bill Burr here on being Bill Burr, because he is Bill Burr. But I thought the emotional notes, he hit them perfectly for me anyway. I thought it was a great performance by him.
I love him pronouncing. I love him pronouncing Star Wars words.
He pronounced Tanab.
Tanab. Yeah, Tanab. And there was another one. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, Alderaan or something.
Alderaan.
It was real. It was real Boston.
So Boston.
Oh, so good.
Also want to give a shout out to one of the creepiest actors ever, Richard Brake, for playing. For what it was, a Valen Hess, I think was the name of this.
That sounds right.
This
As soon as he said that
shitty
the office,
Imperial.
the Imperial was called Hess, I was like, well, okay, we're just not beating around the bush anymore, I guess.
No. Yeah, they're not messing around, and it was like, oh, it's Joe Chill from Batman Begins, and
Oh, is
it was-
Wait. What's his
yeah.
name?
Oh fuck, you're
The
right.
guy who kills Bruce and Martha in Batman Begins.
Jerk. But,
That's
I
him.
would say he has a very, very, very punchable face in this one.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I don't
What
think
a
it's just
story.
his face. I think it's also the performance, but still very punchable.
Yeah.
Very well done. Great casting.
Yeah, he
Also, leave
nailed
Batman's
this
parents alone.
role. Exactly.
Only the
Um,
planet that he destroyed put their hands on one. You're in control. I'm just getting my wallet.
God.
Yep. And I think it's such a great like underline when you know characters like Callus, who like took part in a genocide, and
Yeah.
that
As you do.
left a mark, right? Like it changed him, and you see this guy, and he's like, yeah, like when he said I made some tough decisions, he said that like with a twinkle in his eye. Like he liked making those decisions.
Sadistic jerk.
Yeah, and
But yeah, and those decisions weren't the fact that he had to like do that. It was the fact that it would be a loss to the Empire.
Mhm.
Like that sucks. We won't have enough troopers now. Not
Yeah.
that I'm killing innocent people.
Thousands and
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of them.
and it was just a true underlining of, especially I think a lot of these sort of like remnant types might be your more radicalized ones, right? And
Mhm.
Yeah.
and the people who like they just, I don't even know, like he gives the order speech, but he strikes you as the kind of person who's like, I like the order because the order gives me a badge to be bad.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I was
you
bullied
know,
as a kid, therefore I get to do it to whoever I want.
If he wasn't in the Empire, he'd be sitting there like with a magnifying glass, burning up ants, or like
Mhm.
kicking stray cats or something.
Mandible.
You know.
Fuck off.
Oh, wait, that's
Oh,
literally
no.
that's literally Operation Cinder, though. Magnifying glass. to the planet. Oh no!
It's
Oh,
a
no,
really
what have
big
I
magnifying
done?
glass.
It's just
Really big
just sizzle off it. I also like the idea of just someone like doing that to an ant and calling that Operation Cinder.
Oh,
Sicko.
no.
Total some sicko out there.
Ants in your garden.
Oh man. But yeah, it really underlined the evil. Because you get like in a lot of stories you get different sides of the Empire. I think like something like Squadrons tried kind of hard to not do just the straight up evil of the Empire, and it makes you want to like actually play as those characters kind of thing.
Right.
But this was one that leaned really hard into, oh, these were bad people. These were real bad people.
I thought, yeah, to point Claire to make the Claire that to make the point that Claire made, about like the acting that was in this episode. That sequence where the Imperial officer is sitting here, and then you got Mayfeld on this side, and they're both understanding what's happening. They're pushing each other's buttons. He's like, "Oh yeah, Operation Cinder. That all those people died. Seems pretty shitty." And the other guy's like, "Yeah, Border Bears." And Den's in the middle going, he's like, there's like a little ping pong match going on between these guys, and it's so good to watch them. Like, he just breaks down everything. Like, because you're like, what's he gonna say? Like, I was worried at the beginning of the episode, like, what if he like joins the Empire again?
Oh
And then
no!
it's complete opposite. He's like, no, fuck these guys. These guys suck. Like, these are worse than.
mhm.
These are like, this is evil. Like, it's pure evil.
Yeah.
And they walk
Something
around like waving and doing high fives and going for drinks.
Mhm.
Assholes.
Something that I very much enjoyed about that dinner table dynamic or whatever the dining hall table thing was. Pedro Pascal very famously played a character and died as this character in another show where his critical flaw was not being able to just fucking not.
Yep.
Right? Like, and watching Pedro Pascal now in this show, watch another guy whose flaw is just sitting there being like, can you fucking not? And watching him do that, I thought that was just kind of like a really funny thing to witness. But yeah, it was great. And I was talking to our friend Alden about this scene again, and he brought up the comparison of the part in or the end of Django Unchained, where it was very like Din was Django, the Imperial was Candy, the DiCaprio character, and Mayfeld was King Schultz, and you just see this this build of like I don't know if I can take any more of this kind of thing, and
Right.
the way King loses it at Candy in that movie, and how like it was just coming and it was building, and Din was like, please no, like just
Maybe
don't.
not.
And yeah, and again it was like going back to what we thought was going to happen. Like I think last week I was like, I can't wait to see how Mayfeld like selfishly ruins everything. And it's like,
Right.
no, actually he ruined it because he has like a good heart.
Yeah.
like he
Newsflash,
ruined.
he's
Yeah.
actually a good guy.
Yeah, it's like he
that
cocked the
happen?
whole thing up because he's like on our side kind of thing. So yeah, no, that was just good. That's just good shit, you know. Like
I think even better than that was there's like a very brief gap of silence after that shot. Like you said, that's like a tension. It's like building, and then that pressure has to be released. So he shoots the Imperial officer, but there's a gap straight afterwards, and it felt like 5 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
it did.
And then the other Imperial officer's like looking at him, going, "There's a short trooper that's like
with the tray, the short trooper with the tray." He got his Lunchable on the tray, and he's like, "What?"
happened." And then you get the opposite, the shootout, which is just so cool to see him like fuck it, let's just kill him. Very Star Wars-y vibes. I know I say this a lot, but Rick Famuyiwa has a lot of his episodes definitely remind me of just A New Hope.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I felt very much like Han shooting the the tablet display. I mean, like, boring conversation anyway. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
I love that a lot. That's all that whole sequence.
And then outside, I just in all sorts of stories, I have a very like soft spot for sharpshooters, and having Fennec and Kara on the hill like sniping, like covering them, I was like, oof, I enjoy. I'm very pleased with this, and they're like calling out targets to each other. Yeah, that made me feel good inside.
Short trooper that was like, okay, stepping out on the balcony, gotta be really careful, and immediately get shot in the head.
You know what it reminded me of also? In The Mummy Returns, when they're like down messing with the pygmy guys, and then like
Oh yeah.
Evie and Jonathan are like up top on the ridge, like sniping. Reminded me of that. I was like, I dig that. I dig that vibe.
Didn't expect a Mummy Returns reference on this podcast
I was gonna
today.
say
I didn't wake up expecting The Mummy Returns. It just came up like that.
that's so cool. I didn't even think about that. That's a pretty cool reference. Yeah, I love that. It reminded me of, this is again another weird reference. The whole location and the map of the Imperial refinery reminded me of in the episode 3 Revenge of the Sith video game, the Utapau map. It reminded me a lot of that. I don't even remember what that level looked like, the layout. It reminded me a lot of that level. I don't know why.
It also just now thinking of video games, it reminded me a lot of the Kashyyyk. Yeah, the Kashyyyk like facilities on Fallen Order. Yeah.
Very much so. Slave One, I just said again, okay, this is a quote I've put in the notes because it's. Feel free to boo me. Feel free to unfollow me. Don't unfollow me, please. I need to. I need it. Slave 1 looking sexy as fuck.
Yeah.
Razor Crest 2.
Ooh.
That is a contested point here. That is a contested point. Unless Boba Fett is along for the ride, I don't know how I feel about that being Razor Crest 2.
Oh no! Did you say Razor Crest 2?
Yeah, isn't that what you just said?
No, I said Razor Crest 2. Like.
Oh, I thought Razor Crest 2. I was
no.
oh, okay.
Although that would be funny because in the old EU, Boba Fett just kept having he had like other ships that he just called Slave 2, Slave 3, and Slave 4.
Oh man,
the stupidest thing. Like my microwave is called Slave 5.
I guess when the formula works, right? Stick to the bit. Yeah, I mean it's hard. It's hard to say that to the Razor Crest, but one is a pile of rubble and the other is functioning. So,
One thing that made me laugh as well was it was the Kessel Run Transmissions reaction video, and check that out if you haven't because they're really fun guys. I think it was Noah that was like, I never thought I'd say I'm so excited watching Bill Burr and Boba Fett together.
Honestly, though.
Star Wars, baby. Star Wars.
Also, they had a lovely, lovely comedic moment inside of Slave 1, which shout out to Tem, because there was no punchline. There was no joke told. It was literally just Tamora Morrison being Boba Fett and making Bill Burr uncomfortable. And it was the most delightful moment. I just like props to everybody. Man. Like that just feels right. That feels like Boba Fett. So all of my love to Tem as well. No punchline needed. Just be yourself, man.
You're talking about the volatile and explosive thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when he's like her, right? And then he's just like, the fuck are you?
That's all you need. You need.
But he did it with a look. Yeah, he did it with a look. It was perfect.
So so spot on comedic timing.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, like, have you read the interview of Tim from the past week?
Mm-mm.
I think I saw bits of it. Yeah,
you gotta read the interview of Tamora Morrison. It's so good. The way he praises George so much is amazing.
Oh,
and there's a bit where he's like, "Yeah, I was really upset because I died in number 2, but then he kept asking me back to play this guy, and then this guy. That was Cody."
Yep.
George's like, he's like, "Oh, thank you for giving me the role of a lifetime. It's a shame I'm dead." He's like, "Yeah, but I need you to play like a million other people."
But you have literally been cloned hundreds of thousands of times.
Yep.
You're not out of work yet, buddy.
He's like, "I just kept coming back, and I'm lucky." I was like, I love this so much.
Oh.
But yeah, definitely read the interview. It's really good. So earnest and everything about it.
Yeah, there's a great part where he talks about sort of like this feeling of not being sure, right? Like, yeah, and like sort of being like made to feel like no, this is gonna work, and you're working, and it's awesome. And he's like, okay, cool.
And he's like, yeah, he says like he wasn't sure he'd ever come back. He was like just grateful for the opportunity that he wasn't part of it anyway. And he said there's a moment where he got called in because he was filming something else, and it was in LA. And he got called into the office with Dave and John, and there's like concept art on the wall, and it's like him. He's like, "That's me, but I don't know if it's I'm gonna be in it." He's like, "I'm not sure. I don't want to say like yes." And he says that he mentions like going back out to his car and be like, "Yeah, like I'm gonna be doing it," which I love. I love the fact that he's still like excited for this.
John Favreau was like, "Pack your things. You're going on set."
Yep. Oh, so good. The bit where they Mayfeld actively goes out of his way to blow up the refinery as well, and shows off his sharpshooting. Because I was like, they haven't really shown off his sharpshooting skills. Like, what was the point bringing? And then he says that I was like, so good, so
boy
good.
was
He's
it
like,
sharp.
Fuck those people. Fuck the Empire.
Was I also the only one who sat there going, okay, this is an Imperial refinery that is placed on a dam. You blew up
Mm.
a metric ton of stuff. How are our little villagers doing? Have they been flooded? Are they okay? Like, I'm glad that we did that, but how are they doing? Little bird.
Yeah.
Aw. Let's just don't think about that part. Don't think
yeah,
about it.
we'll just believe good thoughts.
That we saved the
I'll work
day.
right on that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe
it might
Mayfeld
be
was
other way.
right. when it
they left
comes
him
to
on that
the
planet,
Maybe.
so maybe he got calmer and got washed away immediately afterwards.
Maybe.
He's like, I'm free. No.
Oh.
And I love that as a like full circle to the whatever helps you sleep at night kind of thing.
Yeah, we all need to sleep at night, is what he says.
yeah.
It's just so good.
Yeah, it was again like just the character work for this episode was really phenomenal.
And that really obvious Kara. Gross.
He's like, what is this?
Fuck yeah, seismic charges, baby.
Oh my god.
Remember last week we were like, oh, it'd be so cool to hear a seismic charge, and then they did that in this episode, and it was fucking awesome, and we all died. That was good, wasn't it?
Rick Famuyiwa got to do the face for Pedro Pascal and drop the seismic charge in what, a 35-minute episode or something. My man.
I think when people saw Pedro's face, they dropped their own seismic charges.
Yep.
No,
I gotta say, that was the most satisfying moment of the episode for me. That was my freak out moment. Like, I mean, we've had a lot of freak out moments this season, but I think that was my number one freak out moment, just because, you know, it's the best sound effect in all of Star Wars, and
it is an icon.
circular ring, like behind Slave One as they fly away. I'm just like, oh.
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things like we've been waiting, or like it's been as soon as you bring Slave One in, like it's on the table, right? And it's kind of just like, okay, when's this happening? And as soon as it angled up and the ties were behind, I was like, oh please. and then Boba starts punching the buttons, and we see the iconic framing of the seismic charge like coming out. And to me, that moment was a lot like a roller coaster, because you see that and that's going up the hill, and I on my couch did this. I was like, woo! and it felt like as soon as that thing was dropping and blew up, that was going over, and we were on a ride, and it was so satisfying.
Because it's literally
the thrill of something.
It's literally another like time stops moment. Physically, like literally in the sound effect as well, because you're like, you know it's coming. It's like a you're like, oh.
Yeah, they nailed it. And and it's like they know, right? They know this is like a part of the culture, the fucking seismic charge. So it must have been like, to be the sound editors, it must have been so satisfying to build to that.
Also,
like
shout out to George.
you're doing the mix, you're like
shout out to George in the prequels and Attack of the Clones. I didn't think we'd have so much Attack of the Clones love this season. Like if you told me beforehand.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. I love the quote, does this mean I can go? Like, can I leave? Like, what's going on? Nice little wrap off to that story. And Din being like, I don't know, Kara. Can he leave? I thought he died, right? And she's like, yep. It's a shame he died.
I love when I love Din's like helmet motion to like get out of here. I thought that was great. Yeah,
getting bored.
I was a little surprised. I would have thought they might have wanted the extra guns on the like final mission, but I guess it is sort of like a nice reward for the guy. It's like, I just look at him. We're not gonna walk you into death's door.
Get out of here.
We got what we needed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll be really funny if Mayfeld does pop up every now and again. In future seasons or something, but I think if
he's
he
a
doesn't,
bartender on a planet, and like he's like washing a dish, and then like Manda walks in, he's like, god damn it.
He's probably gonna get arrested again for all we know.
Probably.
I'll take it.
Yeah. but yeah, if either way, I think this was, I think a really like, I didn't expect to be saying this, but yeah, a very satisfying like arc for Migs Mayfeld.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun that it's a character from an episode Rick Famuyiwa co-wrote last season as well. So
Yeah.
I think it's cool to have that sort
full
of like
circle.
ownership. Yeah, it's like it really feels like sort of probably like his character. So it was nice he got to take that arc for him.
It's kind of like poetry, Nicky.
Hey,
It rhymes.
you know it rhymes. Yeah.
Doesn't Joseph Campbell? And then obviously the final sequence, which was the fuck yeah moment. Like
Yeah.
even though there was a lot of cool moments in this episode, I didn't think there was like a fuck yeah moment until this last sequence.
Yeah, and it's totally different from how last season went, right? Like the penultimate episode ended with dead Queel. We're like,
Right.
and we're like, fuck. And now this one's with I'm coming for you.
It was. I
Um,
have a very special set of skills. You
Yeah,
took my son, and I will hunt you
exactly.
down.
And I thought again, just going in on how character was done in this episode, like it's so cool hearing they are Moff Gideon's words, but hearing Din say that adds so much. And with what we know, I mean, the line of "he means more to me than you can ever know,"
Oh,
like that is, I mean, that is so far from "I can bring you in warm" or "I can bring you in cold." Like
Mhm.
that is a total journey we have, and it's like it's both different but said with the same intensity of I don't care, I will fuck a bitch up if I have to. like it's like still the same Din like at heart, but it shows a journey. Like you just wouldn't have expected this guy to be saying that. And like for me that's where a lot of the title comes in. Like he believes in, like he's a believer in like his relationship with Grogu. And he's committed, and he's not going to stop until he's saved.
He's a believer.
he's in love.
Ooh.
Oh, I mean, yeah, like that whole sequence was like and you can see sort of fear in Moff Gideon's eyes a little bit. I think.
Mm.
And I would argue,
unexpected fear.
yeah, I would argue, very badass move. Also, not the smartest move. Like, hey, by the way, I'm coming. Hold on to
You
your
know,
Grogu's.
He's got Beskar
Hello?
steel balls, man.
He does.
he's
does.
he's laying those on the table. He's like, you better lock the doors because I'm coming.
As like Boba Fett's probably sitting in the the pilot seat in the cockpit, just mumbling to himself like, "This jackass, totally coming."
I have no idea.
Oh,
Yeah,
dear.
I thought that was a cool thing, and I don't. Yeah, it could be fear in Gideon. I also thought maybe he's like impressed as well. Because again, it's like it's a flex, and maybe he appreciates the flex. But I thought it was cool to see the tables turned on Gideon, because we haven't really seen that, except for when he got, I guess, kind of shot down. But yeah, this was like someone sort of taking it to him, and that's satisfying, because he blew up the fucking Razor Crest.
Right.
Like, it's like, how dare you? So yeah, I thought it was a really cool ending, and I thought it was funny how they put the Gideon speech in the previously on, just so you knew exactly. Like they're not exactly subtle with those previously ons. So like I swear, if they show Cobb Vanth saying, "I hope our paths cross" in the finale one, it's like, oh, okay, Cobb's coming in episode. Cobb's gonna be here. Anything they show is gonna come up again. So I guess that's also exciting. Because yeah, pretty much every episode they've shown something. It's like, okay, yeah, that's coming.
What's happening now?
Yeah, very, very, very intriguing. Pretty much I can't believe we're at the finale already.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. Oh man, what a ride.
Good
What
stuff.
a
Do we
ride.
think the finale is going to take place on a planet or on the Star Destroyer?
It's a good question.
My thought was always Star Destroyer, but I don't know. It's hard to.
I still have my hopes out for Camino. I think there's a reason why they didn't talk about which planet and stuff they were going to. So
Right.
I got my hopes
Yeah.
out for that.
I think
Colder.
that's all still fair game. Like, it could be anything, but I think the door's still open for, because they're really just tracking the ship now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So wherever it goes, they can sort of get that. And it makes sense to be taking Grogu to Camino.
And it also makes
best
sense
spin.
emotionally to have Boba Fett go home for this moment to reunite a dad and son. I mean, home planet, baby.
Although I'm worried because a lot of people are like, I do just to be clear to everyone else, like the Disney announcements last night weren't all the announcements, and there are shows that are in production still that haven't been announced because they're literally like started production, or pre-production. So don't panic. But people were like, oh, because there's no Boba announcement. What if Boba dies next week?
Even if he dies, there could be a show.
That's true.
Yeah.
But also, I just feel like maybe I'll eat my words, but if you're just gonna bring him back for this little bit, it doesn't seem that interesting. Like maybe he's like, oh yeah, I've changed. I'll die to save the baby and whatever. But I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more you can do with that character. So I really hope.
I mean, it's sort of like, I guess after the Marshal, I felt like it was the opportunity to take Boba on that Maul style, like narrative depth, right? And thinking about that again, I was like, how many times did I think Maul was gonna die after they re-brought him back? And I was like, is he gonna die in when Palpatine comes to Mandalore? Is he gonna die on Malachor? Is he gonna die? Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And ultimately, he then died. But I think this could be part of the process with Boba, where it's like, well, is he dying here? It's like, no, okay. Wait, is he dying here? Like, no, okay. and that gives time to to dig into him. And I think it's that same sort of anxiety, because it's like they could have done that with Maul too. Like they could have brought Maul back in Clone Wars and just killed him when Palpatine came, as I thought they were going to, but they kept it going. And so even when there are moments that seem like, oh, this could be the end, I think there's a history of, well, let's keep it going a little longer. Let's just keep. So I don't know. He could die, but I think they know what they have, and they're probably not gonna get rid of it just yet.
Interesting. Right, I think that's all we've got time for this week, to be honest. But we have to wrap up with our thoughts and our, it's our major score out of 10 Beskar. Who wants to go first? Claire?
Sure. As I said earlier, the character development was the champion of the day, as was Mayfeld. Honestly, he was MVP of this episode for me. Although Pedro also just physically and emotionally captured my heart as well. It's just great episode after great episode, and I feel like there wasn't really a huge bombshell moment like we've had in pretty much the last 4 or 5 episodes, really all season. So I think that's the one thing that is kind of this episode's detriment. But that being said, it's a great episode. It just doesn't have the crutch of an Ahsoka or a Bo-Katan or a Cobb Vanth. In my book, that was a big one for me, or a Boba Fett for the first time showing up. Which is, there's nothing wrong with the episode. It's a fantastic episode, and I really enjoyed it. but it's hard to, every week I say it's hard to compare this season because it's all perfection. It really is like top notch Star Wars. And I don't know, it's, I would give this probably an 8.5 out of 10. I really love seeing how our heroes are progressing. I live for little Imperials getting shot point blank in the chest for being total dicks. Like, I can get behind that any day of the week. Little name drops like Operation Cinder, just all of this, and Tanab. It's just, it hits all of my juicy little Star Wars notes, and so yeah, I really enjoyed this week.
Perfect, Nicky.
Yeah, I agree with Claire on this season has just been too good. It's like it's so satisfying to not to like go episode to episode and just kind of feel great. But yeah, I think I really love Rick's work. I think he's so good in the show. I think I watch chapter 2 a lot, and I just see it as a triumph. And
So that.
yeah, I love what he does, and I love the character work in this episode. I think it's cool to have done an episode that didn't need to like rely on something massive. And I hope that doesn't like put people off, because I'm like, this is like really good, guys. And I feel like there is someone out there who's like, well, I didn't get to see my blah blah blah. And I was like, okay,
Filler.
but yeah, but this is like actual like fucking great drama and character going on. So I really liked it. I'm super thrilled that we're at the end, and I'm going to give this a nice solid 9.
Ooh. 9 out of 10. Well, I was going to go quite lower, actually. Like, not dramatically. Well, I don't know, actually. Now, I mean, you guys talk about it.
Don't rethink it.
I don't know.
Speak your truth.
I'm going to go with an 8. 8 out of 10. Like you guys said, I thought it was a really good character development storyline. Really good opportunity. I feel like one of the best advertisement for this episode is the fact that Grogu wasn't in it, but we were still enthralled, enjoyed every moment, didn't complain about him not being in it, because his presence was felt in the sense of his loss, his absence. So I think that they did a great job there. I love all the new character stuff, the team ups, just everything about that. All the little nods, prequel references. I love the Attack of the Clone styling. So yeah, I'm gonna give it 8 out of 10. And I think if we all wrap it up, we should 8.5 overall.
Yeah,
that would be
perfect. 8.5.
Yeah, and I think like the Grogu point is really important, because it's like, I think we always sort of wonder what like what is the show like if we don't have the baby. And it was nice. I mean, he is still vital. Like, the weight of his loss is weighing on everything. So like it is still, he's still there in spirit, but it is interesting to see like nobody has to interact with him, and they sort of have to talk amongst themselves. So yeah, it's a really interesting from that aspect, and yeah, I loved all the humor as well.
And I think like one of the lines that at the beginning and end of the episode that really sort of cemented the whole arc was how Mayfeld says, "What, the green kid, like the green guy?" And then at the end he's like, "I hope you get your kid back."
Yeah, little green guy.
Like, I love that sort of dramatic switch up.
Yeah. Right. I really want to go back and rewatch episode 6 now.
Yeah,
or chapter 6. Yeah,
that's gonna be a fun watch. We're lucky that Ahsoka wasn't in this episode, because if she found out that he was responsible for killing him at Atlanta, I don't want to be involved.
No.
Gay. Well, I'm afraid that's all we got time for this week. If you like this video, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. I'm sure we'll have like a sort of graphic here underneath, so that you'll be the first to know when we have new content out. Don't forget, you can listen to all our main show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all major podcasting platforms. You can also follow us on Twitter at ImpSenate and on Instagram at Imperial Senate Pod. We have a Discord and Twitch, and you can find those, as well as everything else we've mentioned on our official website located at the imperialsenatepodcast.com. And finally, if you'd like to help support the show, you can do so by picking up some sweet swag from tpublic.com/user/the Imperial Senate Podcast. Like Clare is showing off one of our designs. It's no one's ever truly gone. And you can also become a patron on our Patreon page. All links to that are found in the description below, so don't worry about that. And yeah, thank you so much for listening, and the Force will be with you always.
Bye.